All right. Excellent. Well, thanks for joining me today, Devin and Chris. We've got Devin and Chris here from Ntirety. This is a little presentation from defendmybusiness.com, powered by Disruption.io, going through one of our vendors, Ntirety, about what they are, what they do, who they are, what they do, where they win, how they help customers out, and really how, with leveraging Defend My Business and accessing Ntirety solutions, where our team can help you with everything outside of what Ntirety does. So they're going to go about discuss what they do, and then when you talk to our team and you're looking for their service, we'll be able to assist beyond that with your connectivity, your mobility, really anything that isn't to do with Ntirety. We're going to look at that whole big picture as your business and operations, but we're here to talk about Ntirety and what they do, and where they win, and how they're going to help you out. So with that, Devin and Chris, welcome, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Russ. Appreciate it, mate. Yeah, stoked to be having this conversation today. Chat a little bit about Ntirety at a high level, and share some value with everyone today. So stoked to be on the call, mate. With that being said, I'll go ahead and share my screen, and get into the presentation that we have. Unless Russ, you had a few questions beforehand.
No, nothing so far. Well, actually, maybe Chris, why don't you introduce yourself as well, and your role at Ntirety?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Chris Morgioni. I've been in the industry a little over 30 years myself. I help our partner community qualify opportunities. So they, since we are channel only, if and when they have opportunities that have security, compliance, or database type of a flavor to them, they'll come to us. We help them qualify the opportunity and make this as efficient as possible for our partners.
Very nice, very nice.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. And Russ, to piggyback off Chris there, as a quick introduction on myself, I am the sales executive and channel manager for the country of Canada for Ntirety. So what does that mean? That means I deal with our partners and clients based up here in Canada and also in the States as well, but focusing my attention on the Great White North. So I'm able to have these conversations on a daily basis, mate. So happy to as I said, happy to be having this conversation as well.
Sounds great. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into it. So to start off with Ntirety at a high level here, we've got a few quick hitters to introduce us to everyone. And so what we can start off with is that we are an organization that has been around for over 25 years. And truly the experience, knowledge, wisdom of individuals within the organization has stayed with the company for those 25 years. So we can truly hang our hat on that and understand that, that the expertise in the areas that I'm going to get into in the presentation today, we truly have that as a backing here at Ntirety. You may have heard of organizations such as Host My Site, Hosting.com, Hostway. These are previous names of Ntirety, and then obviously over those 25 years been multiple rounds of acquisitions and mergers, and now we're at the point that we are today. Ntirety, the word host used to be in our name, as you started off as purely an infrastructure-based hosting company with data centers. That's still one of our strong suits and one of our main areas that we win in, but we've added multiple of other layers of value on top of that. And that's displayed here by the cybersecurity side of things. So in terms of the quick hitters, which I'm always very excited to share, is the 0 breaches for fully Ntirety secured environments. So with Ntirety security services that I'll touch on, we've seen a grand total of 0 breaches. So we can, wow. we can rest assured here in Ntirety that we are helping our clients, move forward with less risk and really bounce those cyber attacks off and continue to focus their attention on areas that they would like, which is the go-to-market processes, and not have to worry about a breach, which is a growing worry across multiple industries.
Well, that's pretty impressive given how sophisticated a lot of these bad actors are. I mean, they're always evolving, always changing. So to have 0 breaches and be staying on top of that, kudos to you guys. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Appreciate it, Russ. And to keep it relevant, as we're recording this here in early May, the London drugs example has
Mhm.
unfortunately reared its ugly head. And it doesn't matter what size of organization, what industry you're in, these cyber criminals don't eat and don't sleep, and they're looking for ways to enter environments, and
Mhm.
there's multiple ways they can do it, as you mentioned. So we're just out here to be the good guys and help propel that.
Absolutely. And for those of you that do happen to watch this, it doesn't matter the size of you. I mean, phishing attacks, they can send out a million emails a day, and it just takes one person to click whatever they're trying to click. And bam, you think you're small, but a million emails is a million emails and one person to click. And now you're in, you're breached. That's all it takes. So it doesn't matter whether you're big or small. They're not focusing on you individually. Big whales, maybe, but they're just going the mass, spam route, and wherever they can just get a hook in, that's that. So,
Absolutely. Phishing, malware, DDoS attacks. There's a range of ways that
mhm,
cyber criminals can do it. And another stat that we have up here is that close to 2 million average attacks blocked monthly. So that shows the amount that are coming through
mhm,
in the and how significant it is to have these security processes in place. And it truly is just about having a plan. It's planning for when it's going to happen,
mhm.
not if, unfortunately, these days.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Awesome.
Fantastic. So Russ, any other questions on this particular slide, or any other points of interest on this slide we wanted to touch
No,
on?
no, looking great so far.
Okay, terrific. So to keep it moving here, just quickly on the entirety advantage and why entirety. When you think about, the cloud space, cybersecurity, there's multiple vendors out there. Well, why entirety? So three key points that I wanted to touch on here is number one, reducing risk. Number two, improving business agility. And number three, optimizing IT spend. So reducing that risk is absolutely massive. So the ability to move forward as a business, with less risk, that's the place that you want to be in as an organization. So Entirety can come in and handle, those cybersecurity processes, have companies based in the cloud for added layers of security. There's multiple ways in which we can do that, and something once again that we truly hang our hat in. Something I'm about to jump into in the next slide. Um, in terms of improving business agility, with a trusted company, trusted advisor like Entirety handling back-end processes in the cybersecurity space, it allows organizations to focus their attention on the go-to-market and really think about what's important, which is making money rather than thinking about a breach. So we give that peace of mind. And
And
then
you know what? To go back to just to add to that, go back to that example with London drugs. We assumed that probably around 50,000 a day of revenue per store lost just in sales alone, and you times that by 80 locations, and then you add all the other costs on top of that.
yes,
We're talking millions a day. It's mind-boggling. So we don't want people in that situation.
correct, Russ. The loss of revenue, but also the loss of reputation as
Hmm.
well. Just given, if you're breached, customer data, personal data is lost and right out there into the hands of the whole world essentially, and that leaves onto multiple negative ramifications moving forward.
Hmm.
And the final point here is that was optimizing IT spend. We understand that, IT, departments within organizations only get a limited amount of budget per year, so you want to be spending those as efficiently as possible, to keep your sales moving forward. So, with that being said, this is the core and the meat and bones of the presentation here. So the four key areas in which Entirety plays in and also wins in, Russ. So we've got managed infrastructure, managed security, data services, managed compliance. So, given that this is our opening conversation together, and for everyone watching, I'll touch on these at a high level, and then there'll be following presentations and videos where we can delve deeper into each one of these four areas. So, to start off with managed infrastructure, I mentioned that we always used to have the word host in our name before we became Entirety. So this is how we started in this particular bucket. So we have data centers across the US and Canada, to host companies in terms of on-prem. So physical dedicated servers, we're able to host them in the rack space we have available in our data
Hmm.
centers. two state-of-the-art ones in the US are in Denver, Colorado, and Newark, Delaware. One is more on the eastern side of the country. One is more on the western side of the country for disaster recovery purposes. And then our main Canadian one is right here in our Vancouver office, which is where I'm based, right in downtown Vancouver for Canadian companies that need to be hosted in Canada for compliance and data purposes.
Very nice.
And so that is how we do it in the on-prem setting. Now, in terms of looking at the cloud, two key points that I'd like to make here is that we have our own Ntirety private cloud, which mirrors a dedicated server in a cloud environment. That's powered by VMware. So that's one way we can do it if that's what you're looking for. But also when it comes to that more cloud enterprise public cloud environment, we're able to assist in the ongoing management of those spaces. So you think about AWS, Azure, and multiple players in that space. Those environments become increasingly intricate, and there's multiple things that we have to think about, and it become more difficult to manage the larger those environments get. So that's where Ntirety is able to slip in and help in that space. So really, if it's on-prem and cloud, we have a ton of experience in those two spaces, and infrastructure, it really is a key component of ours.
Excellent.
Cool. So I'll keep it moving, and then managed security. We've already touched on this in terms of how important it is to have a cybersecurity plan and processes in place. At a high level, one of the extremely key elements is the utilization of SOC services. So that means security operations centers, of which we have 3 based here in North America. So those are fully staffed with data analysts 24/7, 365. So no matter what time of the day, as an organization, it could be 2 p.m. while we're hammering away working, or it could be 2 a.m. while we're sleeping. Ntirety is able to have eyes on your environment at all times, just in case there is a cyber threat that comes in, or what looks to be a cyber threat. And really, the key competitive advantage of Ntirety's here is that we don't only identify the threat. A lot of cybersecurity vendors out there are able to identify it, and then they hand the reins over to the client, say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, there's a threat coming in, you have to deal with this. Whereas at Ntirety, we're able to go a step further, a couple steps further actually. So remediation, so we stop the threat, and then we also report back to the organization on exactly what happened and how we're able to stop it. So when we talk about the 0 breaches in Ntirety's history across our over 2,500 enterprise clients, this is the service that we talk about, and we label this MDR, Managed Detection and Response.
Okay. A question based on this. Now, is there a ideal customer size? Do you work with any customer, or any business, I should say? Does it really matter? As long as everybody needs to be protected. But are there sweet spots for you, and for people watching where you might think, well, I'm too small, or well, I'm quite large? Can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Great question, Russ. So like you mentioned, truly anyone is at the hands of could suffer at the hands of cyber criminals. So with that being said, every organization needs to have a plan in place. Now, in terms of Ntirety's services, 2 areas that we focus our attention on. So the enterprise space and the mid-market space. So, you look at organizations in terms of when I speak about mid-market, I'm speaking of organizations 50 million plus, and then kind of 100 employees plus. And then obviously enterprise, you're looking at into more the $1 billion space, 1,000 employee space. Now, those are 2 areas that we've seen the majority of our customers in. Now, are those the only 2 areas? Absolutely not. So if we take a step back and look at SMB space, where I'm based here in Vancouver, that is more of a SMB space. So the clients that I'm speaking to are actually of that variety as well, and are seeing value in Ntirety services. So, really, it's a wide range. And then when you think about industries as well, truly, absolutely a ton of industries that we can help in. Financial services, manufacturing, healthcare, education, travel, technology, they all spring to mind in terms of organizations that do need to be protected.
Okay, excellent. And as you mentioned, for those of you watching that have data residency laws that they have to follow or compliance, obviously you guys, as you touched on, can remain either data sovereign in Canada, the US. So for those of you,
Yes.
you missed that earlier, that's something that they can also maintain for you.
Absolutely, and to in the interest of time here, for everyone tuning in, there's multiple other things we can do in the security space to add on to our MDR service. We think about firewalls to protect the perimeter of our environments, email protection to filter out phishing emails, along with phishing awareness training. The disaster recovery piece, as I mentioned, having a production environment and a disaster recovery environment in different data centers, and then also things like penetration tests and
Mhm.
vulnerability scans, things of that nature. So with that being said, that's the security bucket at a high level. Multiple areas in which we can help,
Mhm.
and as my good my partner in crime here, Chris, loves to say that compliance and security are tied at the hip.
Mhm.
So they work very closely together. So with that being said, let's throw it over to the compliance side of things. Now we're able to step in here for organizations and help build out compliance programs from the ground up. So whatever level of compliance that you currently have, we're able to step in and help. We understand that hitting the industry standard that you're looking to hit is not only a one-time process, it is annual. So using Ntirity's compliance as a service, you're able to hit that industry standard year over year. Once again, taking that worry away from you to allow you to focus on your go-to-market. And another key piece here is our vCISO services. So we're able to step in and provide C-suite level guidance in
Mhm.
this space at the fraction of a cost to employing someone in that particular position for an organization.
Excellent. Where would you guys see the biggest gap when it comes to compliance and insurance and things like that?
Mhm.
What do you guys run into most commonly with businesses not actually being compliant? What do you have? Is there a spot where it's like this is the common gap that you guys regularly sort of fill or fix?
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. If you have any thoughts on that, I'll let you have a stab, and then I'll chime in after, eh?
Sure, absolutely. It's it goes back to even being requirement or trying to obtain insurance, right? Like cyber liability insurance.
Hmm.
For every compliance program that's out there, there's a flavor of security.
Hmm.
So where are we seeing the issues? Trying to obtain an insurance policy or just a compliance, you've got to make sure you have the basics. Is somebody watching your firewalls? SOC
Hmm.
SIM services. Do you have endpoint protection? What about your firewalls? Your firewalls being maintained? Are they up to date? Best practices. So I mean, as mentioned, they go hand in hand.
Right.
So
Mhm.
Excellent.
Yep, yep. No, great points. Really, it's do you have these certain processes in place, and is that plan there?
Hmm.
So once again, it's not a matter of if, it's when it's going to strike. So it's just having that just being prepared in that sense.
Excellent.
And then yeah,
Excellent.
Russ. So our last bucket would be our data services bucket. So really, we're quite flexible in this space. So we have data analysts on hand, database analysts, in which they can come in and provide, we can do assessments on database to see what work needs to be done. And then we have this kind of on-demand hours feature where you can purchase hours with our analysts to come in and do whatever needs to be done, monitoring, tuning,
Hmm.
etc. Whatever technicalities and back-end processes need to be handled, we're able to come in and tick that box as well. So with knowledge across multiple databases, we feel as though we can provide a ton of value in that space as well.
Right on.
And yeah, Russ, at a high level, those are the four areas that Entirety not only plays in but wins in. And we're super happy with where we stand today, mate. So that concludes the slides that I had today.
Well, thank you for that. It was a great presentation. For anybody watching, if you want to learn a little bit more about Entirety, please feel free to reach out to our team at defendmybusiness.com. Our experts are there. They'll field your initial call or your email, your message, whatever it happens to be, and we'll
Yes.
help you with, again, the whole gamut of services. So we'll engage Entirety for you. We'll bring them to the table. We'll schedule calls, but we're also going to look at your network, your firewall, anything that, well, firewalls Entirety can do, but any of your existing infrastructure, is it optimized? Are your costs there? And anything that it's cloud-based that Ntirety may require, let's make sure your connections are up to snuff. So anyways, we're here, we're waiting for you guys, happy to help. And I really appreciate Devin, you and Chris jumping on this call and having a presentation and sharing with us everything about Ntirety. And stay tuned, everyone. There's going to be more from the team there, just diving a little bit more in depth into their products, their services. And if anybody has any comments or wants to learn more about Ntirety specifically with regards to one of those 4 pillars, feel free so that we can put that in some of the next presentations and discussions that we have.
Absolutely. Russ, thanks for the time, mate, and everyone listening and watching. Excited to have the opportunity to have a conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.